Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're all well. So apologies, I'm away at the moment, so just thought I'd do a quick reaction video to Harley Davidson launch of their motorcycles, the Chapter 1. I thought I'd be back in time, but unfortunately I'm not. So what did we expect from this? I think a lot of people are expecting a lot more from Harley Davidson in terms of new bikes, new information, but really all we got are the carryover bikes for 2026, which they've just made an announcement of and just, released it in this Chapter 1, this first launch of the new motorcycles of 2026. Yes, there are paint options. Yes, there are pricing options, and in some cases the price has been reduced on some of these bikes in terms of standard fit, or in some markets they've got this solo option, solo seat and no rear pegs and that kind of thing. But really it's nothing new. If you're looking at the cruisers, there's nothing new apart from the headwork they talked about in terms of tuning, in terms of airflow. But again, not a great deal to get that excited about. Yes, in the touring option, you got a CVO, Street Glide Limited, Road Glide Limited. There's the Street Glide CVO ST. I believe that's all coming out as well. But not a great deal in terms of brand new. So I made a short a couple of weeks ago, and I kind of suggested that this was going to be the case, and just by luck perhaps, I was proven right that there isn't a great deal to write home about in terms of what they were going to achieve. The news came out months ago that Harley Davidson were going to move their launch from January to autumn, and that was going to be their big reveal date. In other words, the 2026 bikes will all be released now, or information will be released, so that people want to order them already. That's the whole point. That's why other motorcycle manufacturers do this. So every year I was critical of Harley Davidson for not doing it, but then when January come around, when everybody else had shot their load, as it were, Harley Davidson were there in prime position because they had a captive audience, because everybody was waiting for their model launch of 2026. I just always thought, or for that model year I should say, I always thought it was just a bit too late. So they had an opportunity this year, as we thought, that they would shift it all to autumn. They tell us exactly what they're going to do for 2026, and away you go. So in terms of the model launch itself and the video that they produced, whilst a lot of people might be negative on it or be thinking a bit cringe and it's a bit cheesy in the traditional kind of way that Harley Davidson do things, but they're probably one of the only motorcycle manufacturers who do this kind of launch, do this kind of reveal in this way of their model lineup. So in that sense, they're doing a good thing, right? They're doing something that others aren't doing. I did like this year that they did tend to focus on the factories, on how the bikes were built, the people who built them. And I personally feel that maybe that side of it, that element of the business, that element of the production of bikes, has kind of been overlooked in recent years. Yes, they've always focused on freedom, and they got different people, telling their stories and everything. But really, it's just the normal man, normal woman who works in these factories, who builds these bikes. That's where it all starts, right? So it was really good, I thought, that they were showing that and showing that story and showing those communities around the factories as well. Because, they can go through hard times, depending on how the economy goes as well. So, about celebrating them, but I think it's also about, trying to protect that a little bit, I thought. So, it wasn't so many frills. I thought it was quite a laid back launch in terms of what they had. But really it was laid back as well, because there was nothing new really to say. There was nothing really new to say, wow, this is a brand new bike, or this is a brand new concept, or so on and so forth. So in previous years, all the carryover bikes kind of never really had any press. You know, it was just that we as within the YouTube or online community, we would tell you, we'll say, look, these are just carryover bikes, or manufacturers, or dealerships from the manufacturers would say, look, okay, we've got these new bikes in, they're coming in now, October, November, December. There we go. These are just the 2026 carryover bikes, right? But now they've kind of made a big thing about it. This is chapter 1. So if you look at this objectively, you kind of say, well, this is nothing new. This is just 2026 bikes, carryover bikes with some minimal changes, right? There isn't a lot to think, wow, this is amazing. But on the other hand, it's almost celebrating this in a different way to say, no, look, these are our new bikes for 2026. These are the new variations. These are the new options. So I'm kind of in two minds of whether I liked it or not, whether I had any kind of negativity or positivity towards it. I think in all fairness, I think a little bit of both. I think I'm down the middle on this one. I wasn't so upset that nothing new came out, but at the same time, I wasn't, really annoyed either. I just thought, well, this is the new bikes. Yeah, it's good that they celebrated the workers. There are some minimal changes there. It's good that they were kind of explaining what they were doing in terms of the headwork and everything like that. But I think it was just flat. Let's put it that way. It was just flat. So now we're all waiting for the January 14th reveal, right? That's when the new bikes, or how many new bikes are going to come out. They talked about the limiteds. They talked about the CVO, Street Glider, ST. The Pan America Limited as well. So look, if you're into touring motorcycles and you were a bit hacked off when the limiteds went, and so you'd be happy that the limiteds are coming back, right? And maybe there's going to be a few tweaks on what the previous limiteds were in terms of design and features and things like that. I'm sure there will be. That kind of stands to reason. But then you kind of think, what happens to the Ultra? So if you're kind of going to do away with all the Ultra and just bringing out limiteds, okay, fine. That kind of simplifies things, right? But it kind of muddies the water a little bit when you're kind of just having these bikes and gets people guessing and saying, well, what are we actually having here? What is different? What is the major difference here between this bike and the same named bike from a couple of years ago? We'll soon find out, right? But in terms of touring options, I think there's going to be a lot of touring options. There's going to be a lot of performance touring options as well, with those different engines. Obviously, you could think about different size engines going into these limited bikes, to these touring bikes. Maybe there'll be some changes there. But in terms of, let's say, the standard Grand American Tourers, probably not a great deal of difference, right, in terms of the actual fundamentals there, in terms of the engine, the performance, the electronics packages, that kind of thing. I would imagine it's probably going to be a few tweaks, maybe a few styling changes here and there, but that's about it. In terms of the cruisers, well, they've pretty much already told us what it is. There's not a great deal to write home about. And same with the Revolution Max engine bikes. A few little styling changes here and there, but nothing to really write home about. So in that sense, it was flat. There wasn't a great deal to say, wow, this is amazing. What a great reveal. What a great launch. So we're waiting for January now to see what happens. If they bring out a smaller bike, if they bring out some kind of performance road bike, if they bring out another cruiser, any other kind of bikes really, what would it be? We're still waiting for that $6,000 bike. Lots of people start talking about the Bronx again, and guys, I would say no, we're never going to see that bike. Would I like to see it? Yes. But I think I made a video recently saying that bike, or any kind of bike of that ilk, has got to come in on price to match what other manufacturers are doing, $10,000 mark. And if it comes in any more than that, and certainly if it doesn't match them for tech and performance and capability and everything like that, then they won't sell any, and that's the problem. They've got to match it or do better than the competition, and the best competition as well, or certainly be in and around the ball, that kind of ballpark really. So what would happen in January 14th? I thought, I think this has been a bit of a missed opportunity, if I had to be absolutely honest, because I thought there's an opportunity to bring the whole launch of the 2026 bikes into autumn, so everybody could be mentally prepared to say, right, okay, these are the bikes, or this is the bike that I want for next year. This is the bike that I'm going to pre-order now, so on and so forth. I think they could have helped out the dealerships a lot more in terms of that, in terms of generating interest. In some cases, I say some good positive things in terms of some price reductions in some regards. In other regards, there isn't price reductions. And when you start adding up everything that you probably add to these bikes, it's still going to, I wonder how much of a saving there is. You might be able to buy it initially for a little bit cheaper, but then, as we know, you're going to start spending money on it, and it'll probably be in exactly the same, so you haven't saved any money at all. It'd be very interesting in 2026 to see what the relationship is between the motor company and the dealerships. Artie Starr seems to have already said some good things for dealerships, so he's in their good books. We'll have to see, how the company does in terms of financials and overall bike sales. I don't think it's very good for 2025. But we'll have to wait to see the end of year results on that. But look, all I would say is that I thought it was an okay launch. I just didn't think there was anything new, and I think they've missed an opportunity to show the motorcycle world, show the motorcycle public, or even show Harley Davidson fans to say, look, we've got something brand new here. I think Harley Davidson fans have been shortchanged a little bit, if I'm honest. In kind of meeting expectations. I think they've delivered in terms of what they've delivered. They said, yeah, these are our new bikes, and tweaks here and tweaks there and color changes there. I love that blue denim paint scheme as well. I think it's blue denim, but it just fell a bit short for me in terms of that expectation. I was hoping, not expecting, I was hopeful for a little bit more, let's put it that way. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Hopefully I'll be back in the studio soon, so bringing you more videos. I'm just about to record another video as well, so 2 or 3 of these videos will come out at the same time, and then we'll be back in the studio soon. But if you like what I do here, keep on watching, and I'll catch you again. Bye now.